My biggest takeaway podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back. I have Dustin Holston on today, who is a huge transformational coach inside this space. It's been an honor to work with him inside his business and get to know him and his team. Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, I really appreciate it, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to you today.
Thank you, man. Right off the bat, man, I find it so difficult to get somebody to lose 100 plus pounds. And I know that's one of the things that you specialize in that you've done in the past. What does it take, in your opinion, as somebody that's been there every step of the way, for somebody to make that switch?
I think there's two important things. Number one is the right plan for the right person, right? So we all understand that calories dictate weight loss. We understand the importance of protein and working out and cardio and water and all of that. But when you're working with somebody who's 100 pounds overweight or more, it comes down to starting off with simple but effective changes that'll point them in the right direction. What I tell my coaches is results are contagious. And if I can get somebody who's 150 pounds overweight to lose 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds the first week, even if it's just quote unquote water weight, that gives them the confidence that, hey, I can do this. Because even with you and me, Mike, and you can attest to this, I'm sure, how many times have you failed on a diet? Dozens of times. Like, how many times you're like, all right, I'm gonna start on Monday, and then come Wednesday, you're like, shit, I drank way too much beer. Oh, I'll just start over next Monday. And so we can relate to these folks. Like, we don't realize it, but we can relate. We've all fallen off track. We've all started again next Monday or next first of the month or whatever. And so by implementing subtle but effective changes that can facilitate weight loss early in their journey, you're going to have more success. But secondly, is the consistency of accountability. These people have failed so many times in their diets. This may be their last chance at success. Like they may just be over. This doesn't work. I'm having bariatric surgery. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to be overweight and unhealthy forever. And so providing them with the right program that they can be consistent with, right? I'm not asking them to spend an hour and a half in the gym 7 days a week, right? I'm asking them, hey, can you do a 10-minute body weight workout that I send you? Hey, can you do this? Can you take a 30-minute walk, even if it takes 3 10-minute walks? Being consistent with these subtle changes into their diet is what's going to have it. But the accountability of letting them know, number one, this shit ain't easy. And when I say that, it's not that the program's not easy. It's pretty easy to, make some subtle changes, drink a little bit more water. What's hard is the noise in the back of your head, the people who doubt you, the people who don't want you to succeed. I always joke around, right? Every time I have a client who posts a transformation, they'll have that aunt, that cousin, their friend. It's like, oh, you were beautiful before. And I tell them that's a hater. It is. It's a hater. They're jealous of your success, or when they would have said, you're beautiful, you are kicking butt, I'm so proud of you. No, they're haters. They would give you a compliment, if a real, true compliment. They don't. Okay. So who's going to hold them accountable? They may not have a spouse, they may not have a friend, they may not have a family member. And that's where us as coaches come in. I tell my coaches individually, nobody cares about their journey more than us, more than their spouse, more than anything. Nobody can outcare our folks. So if we put them on the right plan where they can actually succeed, if we can get them consistency to that plan, and they have the accountability of the team, not only just to be like, hey, Mike, did you hit your numbers today? But hey, Mike, I'm proud of you. Like, hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but you know what? You're 3 days in and you're trying. And this is freaking awesome. And we're moving the right direction. And you know what? I am proud of you. And you should be proud of them. And that's what separates us when it comes to working with clients who need to lose 100 or more pounds, is that we believe in them. We want them to succeed. And we can come up with consistent, small, subtle changes over time. So that way they will be like, man, this is working. What else can I do, Dustin? Hey, is there anything else I could do? Hey, I lost 5 pounds, 6 pounds the last 2 weeks. What else can I do? The right plan, consistency, and the accountability of out caring for them than anybody else is what succeeds when you work with somebody who needs to lose that much.
Man, you said, wins are contagious. And we've heard stack the wins, right? Day after day. Count as more wins you have than losses, we're going to see progress, right? I think that goes for anything. You also said something else I think speaks to a lot of business owners, that at the top, right, at the top of the business, one thing we don't get often is like that true, I'm proud of you. Is that something that you've personally had to overcome? Because I know that I have, to where who is giving me some love at the top? Who is giving me that I'm proud of you? Because like we have just as hard days, I think sometimes maybe even harder days than sometimes of our clients, because of the amount of stress of making sure
Mm-hmm.
that hundreds of people are doing what they need to do and accountability to that. Do you ever struggle internally with your own self sometimes of feeling like we're doing a good job or feeling like we're proud of ourselves?
I think early in my career, I had a lot of self doubt.
Mm,
I had been coaching and helping people since 2002. And however, I was an executive managing a multi state law firm for many years and did coaching on the side. And it was a passion project where I made great money as an executive, but didn't really care for what I did. Right.
mm,
And so when I flipped the script in 2019 and started coaching full time, there was a lot of doubt, like a lot of doubt, right? And you have people, I got into it in 2019, then COVID hit. Oh God, and so, what's going on there? It ended up being a great thing because people started being more mindful, and you could do at home programming and body weight exercises and subtle changes with diet. And it actually ended up getting people moving in the right direction a little bit easier, I think. But the self doubt, when you're expecting to do 7 or 8 new clients this week and it's zero, right? And you got a wife and a kid, next thing you know, you're like, oh, what's going on here? Like, man, so and so got great results. I thought for sure posting her photos going to help me with my business. So there's a lot of self doubt. And one thing for me is it's good to have like-minded individuals in this business. Like, I don't
mhm.
consider anybody in this business competition, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I've said this before. There's 330 million Americans, and 70% are overweight. We have 250 million people to share. We're not competition. Like, if
Right.
anything, we can help each other succeed, And
Yeah.
so, especially since joining AR, I see you and Baker, and I see many of the other team members, and we're proud of each other, right? So, like, when we talk about what's our sales goal for the next 90 days, I want every single one of those people to freaking crush it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think of it as we're all in the same space. I don't consider us competition. Nobody's competition. There's 250 million Americans that are overweight. We're not competing with each other. And having like-minded individuals in this business or in similar businesses. My buddy runs a construction company.
Hmm.
I want to see him succeed. So we'll talk business and how he's doing and how I'm doing and stuff. And so that way we can, congratulate ourselves, because we're probably not going to get it from very many others.
No, and I have to agree with that. I don't believe that there is competition. I truthfully just believe that you just don't have the abundance mindset if you are that way in your
Mm-hmm.
scarcity. And, one of the things I'm actually wanting to do is put on an event where I bring 5 or 6 other business coaches in the exact same space that technically we would be competition. However, I think if everyone has one mission, and that's to help people lose more weight, then we all need to get together and become unified to make that
Mm-hmm.
dream happen for people, right? I made a post last night on my story that is something that's really neat that I've been able to accomplish, or at least in the process of accomplishing, because it's a day in, day out grind, is that my objective is to help coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches help more people. That's more people getting healthier. That's healthier kids growing up. Now we're trying to change, this genetic thing that's put out there by people saying, well, this is my excuse because it's my genetics. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I think we all know that's not necessarily the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everybody winning is something I'm truly, truly passionate about and trying to make happen. And so I appreciate you saying that, um, because for those that are looking to get into the industry, it's not that you can't do it. It's not that it's saturated. It's simply that you just have to find your way with the people that you speak to the best.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my opinion, it's not always those that produce the best results is those who make the best connections, which goes right back to what you said is no one's a bigger supporter than my team. And that's truly what produces results, because it doesn't matter what diet we're on to some degree, like we're going to see progress. It's just the consistency of showing up for that diet and, you know, your routine and whatnot. So coming from a law firm, we're a pretty smart guy. Obviously, it's not the smartest decision to go off on your own when we're making good money.
Yeah.
Why did you make that leap?
I just, you know, after being an executive from 07 to 19, you know, I was good at my job, right? And, you know, I think a lot of us get confused with happiness and being good at something. You know, and so with me for years, it was like, hey, it's paying the bills. Things are nice. Got a new car this year. Cool. You know, like who gives a crap if I'm not happy? You know, like I'm happy because I do get praised at work. I do a good job. I do save them a lot of money, or I, you know, negotiate things and like, wow, this is cool. And elements of my job I liked, but over the long term, I wasn't happy. And what I was happy was my side projects of coaching, you know, 5 or 10 people. You know, I wouldn't coach that many, and really I wasn't charging that much either back then. It was just more of a like, man, I thoroughly enjoy this, you know. And then I started coaching more and more people, and had some people, win some Biggest Losers type competitions and win some real big money. And next thing I know, people were knocking on my door. Hey, can you coach me? Hey, can you coach me? And so, you know, the demand was picking up, and you know, I had my son. Had some money in the bank, and to literally quit the same month my son was born, which probably wasn't the smartest thing, but you know, I bet on myself and it ended up working out. But I know my wife was like, you have 1 year. 1 year. This business isn't making money in 1 year. You're going back to becoming an executive somewhere. And got a little dicey once COVID hit, because I was like, oh. But within 6 months, we were making, you know, some profits. And by the end of the year, you know, I was making probably at that time 40 or 50% of what I made as an executive, but I saw month to month growth. And so I was like, this is going to work. Like this is going to work. And, you know, over the years, it's a much more successful venture, profit, you know, money wise, you know, investing in myself, and I'm doing something that I wake up every day loving. So.
Did you have any mentors when you first started this, or did we just wing it?
No, I mean, you know, I've always been someone, you know, I'm in West Virginia, number one. We're the most obese state. Us in Mississippi and Louisiana kind of change roles, but we're all top 3, you know. And so the joke is Dustin, you're a great coach because you have a lot of practice. That's the joke and there's a lot of really good West Virginia coaches. Jeremy Mullins is a really good friend of mine. He's also from West Virginia. And so that's kind of our joke, you know, internally. And so for years, you know, I was a big researcher, really loved clinical studies, loved following like Lane Norton and people like that. And so although I didn't have like a personal mentor in that capacity, I did have, you know, people that I admired that had the same thought process as me. You know, I call them facts, not fads. You know, if it's fads, I'm not interested. I'm interested in facts. So from an education standpoint, yeah. From a mentorship standpoint, probably around 2017, started becoming more and more friends in the industry. And so I did get to lean on them a little bit. But for that, it was more how to talk to clients, how to market yourself and things like that, because I'm a geek. Like I'm nerdy as heck. And so it was, you know, I kind of over talked science and, you know, wasn't talking, you know, I didn't know my audience. Right.
Right. We weren't talking to people that were obese. At least that's like,
yeah. I was talking about, you know, AMPK pathways and stuff. Like, what the hell, Dustin? What are you talking about? You know, and so I mean, I started meeting people. Actually, Paula was a mentor of mine. You know, I worked with Paula for several years, and some other people in the industry to kind of help me hone the conversation piece and things like that. But at first, it was just acquiring knowledge. You know, and that's one of the things that I suggest to some younger coaches is like, you need to, you know, there's only so much you can learn in an ASM book. There's only so much you can learn with ISSA or even Precision Nutrition or some of the higher end ones. there's all kinds of great science out there, and just, starting to diversify your knowledge so it's not just book based is something that I did, which set me up for success later. So
You've had quite a few clients come through your ecosystem at this point. If you had to put a rough number on it, what would it be?
It's in the app that I use, we've had 4,100 clients in the last 5 years.
That's wild.
It's
I
a lot of
remember when you
people.
first come on, that was one of our biggest things. You're like, dude, I don't know how to manage all this. It's like, I've got to talk to you in a week because I've got, what was it? Like something like 1,000 check-ins we had to do as a team, right? Just bananas. But I love it though, because you've never been afraid to put in the work. That's been very clear to me and the team. It's like, you just tell me what to do and I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, and that was actually a struggle I had because for years, I had no coaches. I did everything myself. And even then, when I started adding coach, well, this is actually a cool story. The first month that I added a coach, my revenue went up 40% because I realized that I couldn't do it all. And, Courtney, who's my top coach, she had different skills than I had. She had different experiences. She had personally lost over 110 pounds. She had PCOS. She was a mom. Not any of those things, and so diversifying my business helped me. Plus, I got to hand off a lot of stuff. Like, look, I'm good at programming. I'm good at getting clients. And so I want to be the face. I want to get on calls. Well, then soon I learned that she's probably better at that than I am too. So it ended up working. But, with me, I have a very hands-on, I don't like to say micromanage, but there's specific aspects of businesses that owners should control. You need to control the conversation your coaches are having with other clients. You need to control, programming. Like, you need to control, things like that. You really need to put your hands in. But then at the same time, there's other things that I know once I train up a coach well enough that I can pass on those responsibilities. I don't have to, be obsessed with it. And so, my mindset is if it's got to be done, it's got to be done. Like, there's no other option, right? And that's where setting yourself up with success, if you do have other coaches, is training them enough that, if you're overwhelmed, that they can fill in for you and you can trust them to do a good job. And luckily with me, we do have a very in-depth training. I do things a little different than most coaches. And so, when I hire a coach, they're doing admin stuff for the first month, right? It's just more like, hey, I'm going to teach the hell out of you, and we're going to learn how I run my business, and I'm going to give you a lot of great tips and skills to help you. But in the meantime, you're going to be answering text messages on protein sources, starting off. But at the same time, I reward them as they grow if they stick around through the admin phase. I know I got a pretty good coach. Like, they want to succeed. And so then I can give them more and more responsibility. And at the same time, I pay my coaches well. Like, I want them to succeed because I know if they succeed, I succeed, and I'd rather not lose coaches to other coaches, right? I don't want to train somebody to be an amazing coach and lose them. And so with me, I still micromanage and have my hands on almost all operations and such. But at the same time, I do, allow empower my coaches to as they develop their own coaching style and stuff, to have more and more responsibilities to kind of take off certain things from me. And that's actually one huge benefit of AR, because beforehand, Lord, I just didn't have a way to empower them. Right. So like we talked about the check-in process. It was like part Facebook, part Instagram, part app, part email, part whatever, TikTok, whatever. So we're doing these check-ins in different places. Well, if I had a lesser coach or a younger coach, a newer coach, they might reach out to you, Mike, and say, hey, how's it going this week? And they're going to be like, well, I messaged Dustin, my dog died. Kind of would have been important information to maybe have prior to. We just didn't have that system in place. And so now I can even empower my coaches even more, because now we have better resources and we can continue the conversation easier. So that's been a huge, huge help.
As a business owner to another, I assume, based off of your personality, we're somewhat of a perfectionist. Do you agree?
Yes.
I'm not, but you will probably be more so than me. Talking about the micromanaging, at what point did you finally realize, like, I've got to let go of the reins a little bit for all those other business owners out there?
When I couldn't sleep. Like, and I mean it. Like, it got to a point that if I was awake, I was working, and it got to a point that I should be playing with my son and I'm answering messages, or I'm going on vacation and literally have my laptop in front of me and unable to enjoy things. And, I was scared to death because if I'm working less, that means I'm going to be making less money in my head, right? Like, nobody can do this stuff as good as I can. So, like, why would I hire somebody? And then I realized that's not necessarily true. People have skills that are better than yours. And so once I started realizing and leaning into some of my coaches, I soon realized that there was things that I'm really good at that I should focus on, and there's things that I'm not very good at that it's better to pass it on. And at first it was more friendly, like, hey, let's send Courtney to talk to the troubled client that's mad or whatever, because she would be better at and then next thing I know, it's like, man, her programming's pretty freaking good. Like, she really knows what she's doing with X, Y, and Z. And man, she really does great education. Like, why do I have to be on the Zoom call when she's rocking it, or Jessica's doing really good with more mindset type coaching. And that's something that I never even thought about was, more mindset style coaching and things like that. And so once I realized,
it's hard, I think, based on what you just said, I think it's hard sometimes when we run only facts to focus on the mental versus just the input output of those things. I always tell people, you're not going to make a physical change until you make a mental one.
Yeah. But that was exactly true with myself. Like, I was literally killing myself, with how I was doing it. My physique was going down. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't feeling very good. I mean, like, there was all kinds of stress. I mean, obviously. And like, I was tearing myself down and I was holding my business back. And I think that was the biggest surprise was I brought on Courtney and literally made 40% more the first month. And I'm like, what the hell have I been doing wrong for the last 2 years? Like, why did it take me that long to realize it? Right. And so, having the right coaches in your corner and staff and stuff makes all the difference. But you gotta focus on what you're good at. I had a good personal friend of mine, Steph Lawler, and she's been in the game for a long, long time. And she goes, Dustin, if you can pay somebody to do something better than you for a less rate than you can do it, you really need to pass it on. And I thought about that and I was like, what the heck is she talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, better than me and cheaper than me? And then I started thinking, like, there's certain things that I'm just not very good at. I'm not very good with, for instance, very emotional clients, right? Like, super, super emotional clients, like, if they're guys, I can get along with them a little bit better. But, somebody needs somebody that's a mom that's done it before, that can have that conversation with somebody. They don't need to hear it from me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not good with that conversation. Right. Yeah. And so, it's just, being able to find the right people for the right situations that allow you to focus on what you're really good at is light years so much more important than what I was 4 or 5 years ago.
What do you think your biggest takeaway was hiring your first coach? I mean, I know that we said that, it allowed you to make more money, but what was your biggest takeaway and what did you learn from that experience?
It realized that I wasn't very smart. And I say that jokingly, but I always have this, a perfectionist attitude, right? It's like, I grew up poor. And if I was going to college, I had to have a full ride. Had to. We made too much money for free college for not being rich or not, being poor, but not enough for my family to afford, a scholar, for university tuition and stuff. And so I told my parents in junior high, I'm getting a full scholarship. You'll never have to worry about that. So I became a perfectionist at a very young age. And guess what? I got a full scholarship for academics. And so sometimes I caught myself, and this is where I'm making fun of myself for being dumb. Sometimes I thought way too highly of myself, that I obviously know what I'm doing. Like, I don't need help. Like, why would I need help? I obviously know how to run a business. I was an executive and blah, 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 blah. And I obviously know how to get clients because of these great results. And I soon learned I was an idiot. Like they're like I had the wrong mindset. And I'll give you another example, Mike. It's just like the first call I had with you with AR. Like I was just like, I don't need this. Like I can do this. Like I don't need help. Like what are you talking about? Like and friends of ours was like you need to really talk to Mike. Like he's going to help you. And I'm like, maybe like and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my, like I am super backwards with all this. So I think that realizing your shortcomings and reflecting on that is actually comical at the same time. But then, it tells you where your weaknesses are. So you're like, okay, this subtle change produced this huge result. What else am I screwing up on? And so you reevaluate. Like I like to do SWOT analysis, every once in a while, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so, but I like to look at it as an internal thing. Like what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses are? Well, what my weaknesses are, I want to make strengths. But sometimes you just can't, you're just not good at it. You're just, there is what it is, right?
I think that's a really great statement there. Like there's a book called Strength Finder 2.0. I'm going to suggest you and the team dive into these tests and take them because it's going to spit out your strengths by answering questions in a certain way. And they're not yes or no questions. They're scenario questions. Which one do you relate more to, this or this? And it's like, oh man, like I feel like I'm both of those, but and it's like this give and pull take, but you got to pick one, right? You got 20 seconds to answer. And I made my entire team take it. And a friend of mine, a mentor, client, all the above, runs a very, very, very successful business. It's like, you need to do this. And I took the test. And to my surprise, there's some things that I thought I was good at, but it's very apparent that I'm not. And then I take the rest of the team, take it, and I go, okay, a lot of this is making sense on why you're good at these tasks and why you're not good at these. And what it allowed me to learn is how to communicate with people based on their strengths. Like, for example, I'm probably like you, very cut dry, to the point. I'm not going to text fluff. Not that I'm trying to be rude. I just don't think about what you did that weekend over the question I have at hand. I'm not trying to be anything other than just direct. And so I'm going to read off my top 5. I'm futuristic, which means I'm focusing always on the next step. What's to come. Competition, that's self-explanatory. Significance, wanting to be a part of a big impact. Always wanting to be something big. Like a company that I ran myself was never enough. I'm always like hiring people left, right. Strategic, number 4, always trying to plan how it's going to work, which I think is why I feel like I'm decent at marketing, because I'm trying to build out a 30,000 foot view plan and see the mistakes before they come. And then achiever. I got to accomplish something every day. And this, I think, really drives into this piece of like, is Mike good enough? What did I achieve today? Whether that be yard work or the gym or the business, or like always trying to push and do. Nothing on there is about communication. Nothing about there is on team building. So what do I need to not do? Focus on communication and team building. I need to put those people in the right places.
Yeah.
And then I had the rest of the team take it. And I realized like, okay, these people are really good at building relationships. These are the ones that need to speak to the coaches. These are the ones that need to speak to clients, and then putting them in the places, and it lets me know, hey, this person really needs communication. I'll purposely go out of my normal route to ask them, how was your weekend? Hey, your haircut looks great. And really get past that point to where I can build better relationships. So Strength Finder 2.0, highly suggest it. I won't even have an interview with somebody now without them taking the test, because what it allows me to know based on the position in which I'm trying to fill, whether immediately you're a good fit for the position. If building relationships isn't what you do, and I need a customer service rep, you're not going in that position. I don't care how great of a person you are. Let me find something else for you to do that fits to your strengths. And inside the book, what it stated was that if you ignore your employees, they will give you 20% of their energy and effort. If they do something they don't like, you get 40% of their energy and effort. And if you put them in a position of a job that they like to do and it's a strength of theirs, you'll get 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Same person, different task, double the output.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fascinating to me because we all do jobs, even as business owners, that we just don't like to do. And we don't want to pass that job off to somebody else that is just like us,
Mm-hmm.
that also hates that task too,
Mm-hmm.
but they have to do it because they're an employee. But it's like finding the right people, it's finding the right puzzle piece to make it all come together. And this is exactly what you just said. Finding people to fill the holes that you aren't good at. Because the truth is I'm not going to get better at my weaknesses. I'm just going to be aware of them.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can focus on and thrive in my personal wanting to be in the 80% and continue to grow is focus on those key pieces. And I think that's probably one of the main things that you've been able to put inside your business to have such great success is being smart enough to know, hey, I need to stop trying to do everything and do that and let other people that are better at these certain things than me fill those places. So I got to commend you on that without even knowing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, a puzzle, all the pieces of the puzzle's in front of you. But if you don't have the pieces right, you will never complete the puzzle, right? And that's running a business, right? You may have the right people, but if they're doing the wrong things, there's not going to be the synergy. But once you figure that out, the puzzle's together and you can fly. And if you want accelerated growth in our business, that's what it takes. Like, you got to be ready for it, and Mike knows the story. We signed up over 80 new clients in the month of September. It was the best month we ever had in our lives. And holy cow, like it was something else. And like, if I didn't have the right staff at the right time to take over check-ins and administrative things and such, then Courtney and I wouldn't have been able to do. We did 80 custom programs that month alone for new clients. I didn't count existing. We actually grew our customer base, actually paid current paid clients by, oh boy, let's see, like 30% in 1 month. That was how significant it was. And it was September. Like, nobody grows rapidly in September. Like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden it carried over to October. November, we changed rates. And guess what? We're signing up more people than we did at the change rates than we did before. And so, synergies and results, And guys, if you're a new coach, I have a rule. Get people results and treat them right, and your business will grow exponentially. You do those two things, I guarantee you success. But you got to treat them right and you got to get them results. If you don't get them results but treat them right, they'll treat you as a friend, but they're not going to go tell everybody about your coaching because you're not getting them results. They don't feel like they're getting what they paid for. Like, hey, Mike's a cool dude. I'm glad he checks on me, but I'm down a half pound in 3 months. But if you get people results and treat them right, they're going to tell everybody they know. They're going to go to Thanksgiving tomorrow, and they're going to be 20 pounds down from the last time that their family saw them in July, on July 4th. Holy cow, what are you doing? Oh, I'm working with Mike. Mike is the coolest dude, man. He may be in the right program. He checks in on me every single week, and look, I'm getting amazing results. It's results and treating them right. Like, if you just strip down your business, those are the two things that matter: results and treating them right. Like, that's it.
Dude, that's a really good point. I think a lot of people don't think about what the actual customer does once they're off the phone with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact that you just said, hey, I'm going to show up at Thanksgiving, I'm going to be down 20 pounds, and they're going to be like, what are you doing? Like, there's nothing worse than somebody making a comment and they've like lost 5 pounds and it's been 6 months and they told you in July that they started a trainer, but you haven't seen any results. That's disheartening to the client.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we can show up a few months later, see results, like, I want to say it was like 93% of business grows. Don't quote me on that. 93% of business grows from word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care if you're doing ads. I don't care what you're doing. Nothing is good as somebody going to a Thanksgiving table saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to skip that. Why are you going to skip that? Because I've lost 20 pounds and I know better. And I'm like, huh, something's gotten in this era. But she does look good. And I think that's really cool to be able to do that.
Last point with that real quick too is if you build the right community, like we have a Facebook group of almost 10,000. So guess what? Even if that person doesn't say like, who's your coach, they may say, hey, let me add you to the Facebook group. They got some killer recipes or they got some amazing free workouts they post every Wednesday, And so if you have the sense of community, even if they don't use your name, they bring them into their community. Well, now they're going to see 10,000 other people. They're going to see, wow, there's a reason why this Facebook group is so popping. And it's, wow, look at all the education and the free recipes once a week. If you build a sense of community on top of it, they don't even have to use your name. It turns into like, this is the community I'm a part of. How do I become part of that community? And that's something that I also did not learn early in my career. Like I didn't know, like, gives a shit about community. Like shouldn't you just want results? And then I soon learned that's not correct. People want results, but they also want to have like-minded individuals in their corner.
Right.
They want to see the success.
You just said that earlier, like-minded individuals, and it's the same thing. Because it's not just accountability from your coach, but it's your friend circle. It's Susan that lives 10 states over, right? Who's going through the same things, who's also a mom of 2, working 2 jobs, still making it work, still seeing progress, still trying to get it back together, still making those mental health changes along with the physical, right? I think community is a massive thing. I mean, I grew my entire coffee company strictly off community. That was the entire focus. It's coffee. But coffee shops are always popping because people just want to come into the atmosphere. And I think atmosphere and community is very, very, very powerful. So if you are new into business, or if you do have a business, I don't care what it is you sell, figure out a way to build a community. I think that's really great advice. Question for you, Dustin. Out of all the clients that you've worked with, what's the biggest takeaway that a client has taught you?
Boy, tell you a story. It's my favorite story. It's my favorite story, but it's an emotional story. So we'll see if I can get through it. So, had a client named Kim, and I won't give any additional information. Kim snuck to message me because her husband was super controlling. This is a weird story. And she was 301 pounds, and she was 5'4" and before 5 kids in 6 years, she was relatively thin. Hated herself so much that she didn't leave the house. Like, she was a true hermit. And so she snuck and messaged me on Facebook saying, I need help. And so I took her on January 1st, 2017. And I didn't realize, and this is the moral of the story is you don't realize what's happening to that individual. Like, you don't understand their struggles until you understand their struggles. And if I didn't ask questions and I wasn't supportive, I would have never known the crap that she was going through. And it was bad. And so she wouldn't leave the house. Obviously, she went to the gym 0 times in 12 months. 0. We did body weight exercises, 100 push-ups, 100 crunches, 100 squats every single day. We started off with 25, 25, 25, worked up to 100, 100, 100. She took a 30-minute walk around her house, not even on the street. She literally was not supposed to leave the street. And so she just literally walked around the house. In 6 months, she lost 100 pounds. In 12 months, she lost 156 pounds. She went from 301 to 145. No medical intervention, no surgeries or anything. When she hit her weight loss goal, she stood up to her husband. She went back to college and got a job. It just needed that confidence to stand up for herself. And it's the craziest thing. And what I mean this is you have no idea the impact you can have, but you also do not understand how bad people have it. Like we donate a lot of food to an area food bank because I didn't realize how bad my community was until I opened my eyes. But it started with Kim because I didn't realize that was even happening in 2017. Like, what do you mean your husband controls you and you can't leave the house? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and she grew up in the same town as me. Like, it was something like, this isn't true. Like, what the heck's going on? And so the impact you can have on somebody, but you just don't know how bad it is for some people. And it was life-changing to me because now I see that. And so now I can kind of diagnose the mental health side of things or the struggles they have so much more because I worked with Kim and I was her only support system. Hell, she couldn't even, I mean, like literally, she snuck to message me. I met her one time ever. I dropped off some stuff to her home as a thank you. And it was the only time I ever met her. And so, anyway, I still keep track. She's actually still down 150 pounds over whatever it is, 6 years. But one, you don't know what's going, like what people are actually experiencing. And you also don't know until you open your eyes what's actually going on around you.
Mm.
And so that's my favorite story, just because she stood up to her husband, ended up getting 2 college degrees and getting a job, all because of the impact we had on her by setting her up for success.
Literally changing her life.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
It's a
that
crazy
gives me
story.
goosebumps.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild. How many people have you helped lose over 100 pounds?
Probably up to 300 or 400 now. Yeah, over the last, since about 2017.
Oh,
Yeah, we do a lot, and actually, that's not even my favorite practice. We focus on PCOS and infertility too. We've helped over 80 ladies get pregnant since 2019. So
that's
and
got to be very, very rewarding.
it is. It's a lot of times we're the first phone call. Like they don't tell their husband, they don't tell their friends, they call us. And so it's the first time it happened, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, yay, because like she was so emotional. Like I got scared that she did, like I didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm like, yay, and she's like, I've been trying for 10 years, and and that's actually the first person we ever helped was my best friend. So my wife has PCOS and we had some infertility issues, but so did our best friend. And our best friend had spent 10 years with the injections and tried all these different things, no success. And I got pissed off. I did. Like, I literally was like, this is just insane to me that, the doctor says, we don't know why you're not getting pregnant. And they do all these things. They spend tens of thousands of dollars, nothing. And so I went out there and read every single study I could possibly find on PCOS infertility and found a bunch of great literature on non-prescription means. So I asked her, because from a liability perspective, you got to be a little careful. I said, hey, ask your doctor if he's cool with you coming off meds and you trying a more nutrition approach to it. We put her on a lower carb, high protein diet. She had PCOS. We did a lot of omega-3s to bring down inflammation. We started focusing on gut health. We started doing resistance training. And in 2 months, she gets pregnant. And I went, uh-oh. So then our other best friend struggled. 4 months later, she got pregnant. And I was like, I have hacked the system. I have biohacked PCOS. And so literally we used to do, and this is something cool too for young coaches. If you ever want to get into something that you're not very comfortable with, now this one's a little aggressive because it's chronic health conditions, but offer free coaching on something you've never done before. And so what I did to build up the experience and the, hey, I'm the guy you need to talk to, I would do what I call study. And each year I would take 20 women with PCOS and say, you follow the plan for 8 weeks, I won't charge you a penny. And after 8 weeks, we had ladies with PCOS losing 30, 40 pounds. And if you know that, PCOS is so hard to lose. We literally had 2 or 3 people get pregnant in 8 weeks out of that 20. And guess what? Every single person became a client for life. Every single person told everybody they knew about us with PCOS. And that's how we ended up growing that practice. And it was all because I didn't want to charge them. I wanted to get more experience with it and kind of hey, it's worked for 2 people. How many others can it work for? And so it's pretty neat how that's worked. But I always say that with keto, like I'm not a keto guy, but I wanted to learn more about keto. So 6 or 7 years ago, I said, hey, I'm looking for 10 people to do a keto program and I won't charge you a penny. Guess what? I became well-versed in keto, and next thing you know, I can answer questions on keto and, talk to people about whether that's a good option or not. But if you've never thought about doing that, guys, I mean, yes, it's time and energy, but it's free advertising because if you learn these things, you can use it for future use. And if you say, hey, look, if you're happy with the service I gave you over the last 8 weeks, you care to give me a shout out, you care to add some friends, and next thing you know, holy cow, especially with like PCOS folks or whatever, this worked. And everybody with PCOS has friends with PCOS. Infertility is a strong knit community.
Yeah.
And so just an idea, I've done it with keto. I've done it with, some of the other niche diets out there. But don't be afraid to just like, hey, what's it going to take? Coach 10 people, do it for free for 8 weeks just to try out a new experience for you, see how it works, see if it's something you want to offer in the future. To me, it's takes time, but there's no cost to it, so to speak. There's no hard cost with it. It's,
Sure,
soft
absolutely.
cost.
Well, man, where can people find you at?
I am Diet Coach for You, old school, like AOL Instant Messenger type name, if you're old enough for that. So it's got the 4 and the U. On TikTok, on Instagram, I'm MBA Muscle 247. Dustin Holston on Facebook, everywhere else. Seriously, add me, ask questions. Like, guys, I thoroughly enjoy helping people. My goal, this year for 2024 is to get up to 10,000 clients. We're at 4,000 over the last 5 years. So that means I got to do, I got 1.5 times growth, but I'm confident in my team that we can make it happen. But if I can ever help you with, and the other thing is, I'm a pretty high level nutritionist. So if you have a client, you're just like, I don't know what to do with, like, feel free. I love the challenge. So I don't mind giving you some tips with that.
I appreciate you throwing out
education.
that hand and help. One last question for you. What do you want people to take away from you?
Man, that's a great question. I don't know. At the end of the day, we all expire eventually, right? And at the end of the day, I want somebody to be like, damn, Dustin really, really cared, and he really, really tried to make the world a better place. Like, I have the greatest job in history of the world. I get paid to keep people alive longer. I get paid to make people happier. I get paid to help with people's mental health and their overall health, and the opportunities of them chasing around grandkids and adding, there was a study a couple years ago that said being chronically obese took more years off your life than smoking. And so if you had like a BMI over 45, I think it's what it was, that you lost like 12 years off your life, where smoking for 40 years took 10 years off. And so if you're helping somebody, and that's our niche, is the people who are 100 pounds overweight, I'm potentially helping them live 10 extra years. How freaking powerful is that? So at the end of the day, I want somebody to say, damn, Dustin tried really, really hard to really help the world, and he did it. That's my goal. That's what I want to hear as my eulogy. You can put on my tombstone. He tried hard and he helped people. That's what I want, So.
Well, I would say you're definitely doing that, man. And I've never heard somebody help that many people lose 100 pounds. It's astonishing. And that's a hell of a feat, man. And so, full circle, dudes, I'm extremely proud of you. I'm honored to have you on the team. I'm honored to be able to watch your journey, and you actually truly help people change their lives, not just look a little bit better, man. So thank you so much for coming on, man. And y'all, please give the guy a follow. Puts out lots of great information, lots of great education. He's a man of his word. Thanks, man.
Hey, appreciate it, Mike.
My biggest takeaway podcast